Life is hectic.
Some days are just a blur.
We're Jay and Laura LaFoon, and we help busy couples stay married for life.
Welcome to the Married for Life podcast. 3 show days till vacay.
Oh, Laura, could not be more happy.
Sunshine and warmth.
We're heading to Florida.
Sand.
But we're not doing
books.
it. We've got 3 more dates we have to play. We've got Saginaw, Michigan. We've got Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And Palmer, Iowa.
Where's Palmer, Iowa?
In Iowa. I'm not sure. We're going to fly in and out of Des Moines, and I think it's a 2-hour drive from Des Moines. So it's probably really remote.
Okay.
I'm not going to say in the middle of nowhere.
But that's fun. It's always fun to do a date night in a remote area.
Yep.
Bring in some fun to some people who live in the middle of a cornfield.
That's right. We live in the middle of a cornfield. What are you saying?
I know. So,
but we're super excited for vacation. Hopefully you got away for spring break. Ours is a little later this year, and we're heading to our favorite spot, which is down in Fort Lauderdale area.
South Florida, where there's sunshine and water and fishies and sand and sandals and
sleep.
And
all the
sleep.
S's. We get all the S's on vacation, and we get to do nothing. People are like, well, what are you going to do on your vacation? We do nothing on our vacation because we do so much.
We put beach chairs on the ocean, and we sit with an umbrella and food and books. That's what we do.
That's right.
We walk. We do walk every day.
We walk a lot, yep.
We do walk a lot every day. Try and get some exercise in. But yeah.
It's just relaxing because we do so much when we're not on vacation. But we got a great show for you today. It's about leaving a legacy.
Do you ever think about what your legacy is that you're going to leave?
I don't. I think
Should we think more about the legacy that we're going to leave?
Probably, yes.
I mean, I think people think about how much money they're going to leave their kids. You know, am I going to have money to leave them in a will? Am I going to have a house to leave them? But do we ever think about what's the word I'm looking for?
What people will remember us for.
Yeah, your stuff. I can't think of what it is. You know, like your who you are, not your.
For example, my father left a great legacy that he would always make everyone in the room feel welcome. He would go to the people in the room that were the nobodies or nobody else wanted to talk to. Nobody else wanted to talk to because they're a difficult person, and he would always make them. That's one of the things he left as a legacy. He also left a legacy of being cheap, but
but we're not going to talk about that legacy. What we are going to talk about is 4 habits that will ensure that you leave a positive legacy. But before we do that, we have a
shout out to a listener. It's Elaine, so I think you're going to need to read this.
Our biggest challenge right now is Elaine. She's saying me. My biggest challenge right now is me believing and defending his dream. This was something I really needed to hear. I think this is the main purpose God wanted us there tonight. Thank you for the humorous way you bring reality to light. So what Elaine is talking about here is she attended one of our date nights, and this year in our he said she said date night show tour, we one of the last points that we make is a phrase that every man needs to hear from his wife is I believe in you, and I talk about believing in his dream. And so what she's saying right now is she's having a hard time believing in his dream. And
Elaine is a pastor's wife, so just because what I'm saying about that is, we put pastors and their spouses up on pedestals. We shouldn't, because they deal with the same stuff that we deal with, and they deal with it every day. And
in the date night, we talk about discovering what your husband's dream is, and then developing that dream, putting a plan together to make sure that dream happens, and then defending the dream. And what Elaine is saying here is that she's having a hard time believing in it and defending it. And so, Elaine, I would just like to encourage you and hope that you are listening, that you would continue to just pray and ask the Lord to help you believe in your husband's dream, whatever that is. Sometimes dreams are hard to think about becoming a reality, because
we think we don't deserve them, or we think we don't have the ability. It's just a dream. It's just a pipe dream. But really, go towards your dreams until the door shuts. If it's really not a valid dream, the Lord will shut the door. That's for sure. So today we are talking about leaving a legacy.
And habits that will help us leave a legacy.
There you go. And that really is. It's you're not going to probably be, some person who writes a #1 best-selling whatever.
You can dream for it.
You can dream for it, But, what's the legacy you're going to leave? And we believe there's 4 habits that will help you leave a great legacy with the people that you can touch.
And they are to be punctual, to be polite, to be practical, and to be purposeful. So first, let's look at being
Punctual.
Do you guys have those people in your life that are never, ever on time? I mean, seriously, just never on time. Drives me crazy. We used to have a friend that will remain nameless. I mean, he's still a friend. But he was always late.
We're not going to mention his name.
Always late. Always late. And whenever there was a group of us going out, he was always 15 minutes behind the rest of us. So we started telling him, okay, so if we all want to leave at 6:15, let's tell him we want to leave at 6 so he'll be there on time.
Right.
But, when you're always late, perpetually late, what you're saying to the people around you is that my time is more valuable than your time. And that's really just rude.
Right. And that was one of the things that that was a legacy my dad left for me. Of course, he was a minister who was in the military, so I do nothing without fear or guilt. But he always said, if you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're rude. And that really is how he lived his life. And when you think about it, when you value other people's time, you value the people. Mm-hmm. And that's super important because everybody else's time is just as important as your time.
And it is something that, we try to instill in our kids. And we between Jay and I, we don't really run late. We have a time, we live by a schedule.
Right.
And so being late has not been a problem in our marriage. But I know in some people's, you're always waiting on the husband or waiting on the wife or waiting on the kids or whatever. But really establishing that habit of, you know what? Okay, so we need to leave here at 10:15. So what time does everybody need to be done? What time do we need to start you moving? What time do we need to head you to the bathroom? What time do we, and just trying to establish that habit of being punctual. It's very important, I believe, as a habit to ensure that you leave a good legacy as being on time and valuing people's time.
Right. And we do this every weekend when we're going to our shows. We have what's known as a load-in time. And that load-in time is when we show up and we need everyone else to show up to get ready for the show.
To get everything on the road.
And there is nothing, and you can ask Laura this, I get livid when we're running behind because we've asked those people to be there at 5 o'clock. We need to be there at 5 o'clock.
And it's not usually anything that we can control. It's
right.
It's traffic. It's, those kinds of things that are out of your control, but allowing for those, even if it means you get someplace 15 minutes early, that's better than being 15 minutes late.
Right. So the first habit to develop, if you really want to leave a legacy, is to be punctual. The second habit
is to be polite.
Yes, ma'am.
Be polite. We have always trained our kids to say please and thank you. That doesn't mean they do it now because they're adults. But, always saying please and thank you. When Papa, Jay's dad, would take us out for dinner, making sure we all said thank you, Dad, for buying dinner, or, thanks, Mom, for cooking dinner, or, just saying please and thank you. Could you please pass the salt and pepper instead of having that little
lilt at the end of the voice.
Salt and pepper?
Salt and pepper?
How many of us do that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure we all do. We all think we're saying please, but we're not saying please. And really being polite, especially in a culture where we live where politeness is not necessarily. Well, it's a thing of the past.
Right. And Laura, she grew up in Atlanta, deep South. Great traditions of politeness. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. And I'll never forget, she was grilling this into Grace, and, she said, what do you say to mommy? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. What do you say to daddy? Yes, sir. No, sir. What do you say to grandma? Can I have a cookie? I'll never forget that.
And then she said, please?
Please. But growing up in the South, I love hearing that yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And not for what it's worth. We love going to Chick-fil-A for a number of reasons. We love their food. But what do they always say?
It's my pleasure.
My pleasure. And just that one little phrase makes the experience even that much better, because you can't say that with a bad tone of voice. That's my pleasure. No, you can't. And if you do, you probably won't be working at Chick-fil-A very long. But that whole idea to be polite, and what it does, again, it values the other person. And I'm seeing a pattern here.
Valuing the other person. Well, and as this applies to marriage, I think being polite with each other. Too often we take each other for granted.
And we interrupt each other.
Yeah, all the time. Like you just did. And,
that was on purpose.
I know it was. But, being polite with each other. Thank you for taking the laundry upstairs. Or could you please take the laundry upstairs? Thank you for changing the oil in my car. Thank you for filling up my gas tank. Being polite and saying.
Thank you very much.
Being polite and saying, please.
pretty, please.
and thank you is highly important in a marriage, to just value that other person. Well, we're going to come back in the second half of the show and talk about 2 more habits that we need to ensure that we will leave a legacy, and that is to be practical and to be purposeful.
Hi, everyone. This is Paul Thomas, Director of Live Events here at Celebrate Ministries. A couple of things I want to make you aware of. Celebrate Your Marriage, our signature event for the past 20 years, is coming up this May, and we are just 2 weeks away from our room block expiring at Grand Hotel. So if you want to join us on beautiful Mackinac Island, time is running out. We've got a special deal for our podcast listeners. If you visit the show notes, you'll get a discount of $20 per couple. That discount's going to go away soon, so please buy your tickets today. Now, Celebrate Your Marriage at Grand Hotel takes place May 19th through the 20th. For over 20 years, we've invited couples to beautiful Mackinac Island. This year, we will welcome America's Got Talent finalist and sand artist Joe Castillo to join Jay and Laura at the conference. Celebrate Your Marriage gives you and your spouse a chance to slow down, focus on each other, remember why you got married in the first place, and all of that takes place under the backdrop of one of the most romantic locations in North America. Now, from the moment you arrive on Mackinac Island by ferry to the horse-drawn carriages that will transport you all around the island to the beautiful views and the wonderful food, Celebrate Your Marriage is a great weekend getaway for you and your spouse. The conference spans 2 days, and we're excited to welcome special guests Keith and Chandra Rushing of Better Half Ministries as our special VIP experience. Now, the VIP experience includes a private dinner with the Rushings and the LaFoons on May 20th, as well as sessions on May 21st, and it gives you a chance to stay one more night at historic Grand Hotel. You can find out more about Celebrate Your Marriage at Grand Hotel by visiting celebrateyourmarriage.com, and do not forget about the podcast listener discount that can be found in the show notes. Now, the Ultimate Date Night He Said, She Said winter tour is wrapping up, and for those of you in Michigan, Jay and Laura will be in Saginaw and Sault Ste. Marie on April 5th and 6th. They'll be in Palmer, Iowa on April 12th. You can get tickets to those events. You can see where their full schedule is by visiting jayandlaura.com. And finally, if you'd like to bring Jay and Laura to your church, we are now booking into 2020. Email us at podcast@jayandlaura.com for more information. Now, let's get back to the podcast to Jay and Laura LaFoon.
Welcome back. We're talking about 4 habits that will help you leave a legacy in the people around you. And I think especially leaving a legacy with your kids and your grandkids. And the first is to be punctual. The second is to be polite. And the third is to be practical. And this is one that Laura and I have struggled with because I'm cheap and she likes to spend money. And this whole idea of practical is really the idea of your finances, of being practical with what you can and you cannot do with your finances. And early in our marriage, we struggled a lot with that because Laura thought we could do more with our finances than we were able to do.
Well, and I think, too, and I wonder if a lot of moms get into this habit, or not just maybe moms, but women. I would always go to Target, go to Walmart. Here in Michigan, we have a store called Meijer, and I would go without a list. You know, here's all I need. Being practical is here's all we need this week from the grocery store, or from Target, or from Walmart. But I would go without that list. And then those little things that catch you when you walk in the door. You know, like right when you walk in Target, there's that dollar section. And so I would always go in there and go, oh, isn't this cool? Oh, let's get that.
I need one of those.
One of those. It's not practical, but it
and you really don't need it.
Right. It just catches you. And so one thing that I started doing because Jay's right, we did struggle with this very early in our marriage. We always make a list. We make a grocery list. And when I go to the grocery store, that's all I get on the list is what's on the list. Don't get anything else. Don't get sidetracked. And if you want to add something, you know, fun, like this week, I want to get some spring colored dish towels for the kitchen. Then put them on the list and look at them. And then sometimes I find myself saying, I don't really need this because, you know, they're $3.99. And
we're gone half the spring.
So just those kinds of things, but being practical with your finances.
Well, and Jesus did speak about money a ton. Where your treasure is, your heart is also. And so, you know, we've got to take those words seriously. Finances are a big part of marriage, and a big part can cause big trouble in marriage. So we recommend a couple of different resources. Number one is Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University. Our kids are going through that right now, and they're stoked about handling money God's way and how that brings peace. Everybody. And freedom. Everybody wants peace and freedom. And then also, we partner with Thrivent Financial, and we'll have both links to both those in the show notes. Thrivent is a Fortune 300 company. They help people use money God's way. And couldn't
Christian Financial Services.
Right. Christian Financial Services Organization could not be more proud to partner with them at our Ultimate Date Nights, at our Celebrate Your Marriage events, because they really do help people handle money God's way. So that is the third habit
for ensuring that you will leave a legacy. And the fourth habit is to be purposeful. Jay and I are firm believers that God has his thumbprint on you and your marriage. There's a reason that you and your spouse are together to accomplish something for God's kingdom, and there's a purpose out there for you to accomplish. And in our book, Make Love Every Day, we wrote a chapter about devising your family mission statement, finding out what it is that you are all about as a couple, and what is the purpose that God has for you to accomplish in your marriage.
Well, and it really does. When you live on purpose, you really do bring a lot of peace to yourself, because you know what to say yes to and you know what to say no to. And again, all of these habits value other people. And so that's really the legacy you want to leave, that I would think anyone want to leave, is that we value the people that we come in contact with. So when you're polite, when you're punctual, when you're practical, my father left my mother in really, she's not a millionaire by any stretch of the imagination, but he took care of her practically, financially, and then finally to have purpose. Every one of us wants purpose, and we believe God has a purpose for you in your life, that he has a purpose for you in your marriage, that he's got his thumbprint, as Laura said, on you specifically.
Well, I can remember at Jay's dad's funeral, we put a picture on the screen of what Jim LaFoon's purpose was in life. And you could read right down there. And I think that's highly important in our lives, to have, what is it that we're all about? Jay and I, our purpose is to encourage others to become like Christ through stimulating experiences, healthy lifestyles, and loving relationships. That's what we're all about. Everything we do, we put through that filter that says, okay, is this a healthy lifestyle? Is it going to cause a loving relationship? And is it going to provide stimulating experiences for people? But most of all, is it going to encourage people to become like Christ? And if we can say no to any of that, we'll say no to whatever we're being asked to do. It just really gives you, I think, a lot of freedom when you know what your purpose is, what it is that you are all about, to be able to say yes and no. And then it causes you to do what you say. I've committed to being on this committee because it falls into my mission statement or my purpose. Then I can say yes and follow through with that.
Well, I think every one of us wants to leave a legacy, and I think 4 great habits to get you started in that direction are to be punctual, be polite, be practical, and be purposeful in your life. And if you can accomplish that, you will leave a legacy with the people you come in contact with each and every day, and you will leave a legacy for your children and your grandchildren that is rock solid. Well, we're going to do a little shameless self-promoting, if we could, right now. We want to ask you to rate us. Please rate this podcast on all the algorithms and all the different platforms that this podcast is played. When we get rated, it improves our status. And so if you're enjoying these podcasts, if they're really helping you, if you would please take the time to rate us. And also, if you would share it with your friends, share it with your coworkers, share it with your family. We're trying to build a community here where we help busy couples stay happily married for life.